Attention and learning. Attention occurs with the activation of three specific networks in the brain. The first is alerting, then orienting, and finally, executive control. Typically, by the age of 8, children have near completed the development of their attentional networks. The first of the attentional networks is alerting. This network turns on when something in your environment changes. For example, you somehow, likely through visual and auditory cues, realize that something is moving towards your head. The second attentional network is the orienting network. Orienting is what helps you form an opinion about what is changing in your environment by synthesizing sensory cues and activating your memory. To continue our example, after detecting something coming towards your head, you turn towards it to figure out what it is, how fast it's moving, and whether it's dangerous. You recognize the moving baseball. The executive attentional network takes signals from the alerting and orienting networks to help you determine how to react to the change in your environment. It is the executive control network that presents you with options for action. Will you catch the baseball or will you duck? Now that we know what the attentional networks in the brain are and how they work together, let us consider how that may affect our classroom practices. First, think about the goals you have for your students beyond course content. You likely are looking to foster global awareness, self-discipline, and inquisitiveness, among others. How might a more thorough understanding of how attention functions assist you in achieving these goals? How can we access those alerting and orienting networks? Awareness, memory, and interest each play a critical role in activating those first two attentional networks. Awareness refers to being aware that something in our environment is different. We may not know what it is yet, but our sensory lobes receive signals that something has changed and awareness is triggered, which begins the process in the alerting network. Think of the Goldilocks scenario. The temperature in your classroom is too warm or too cold. This awareness of uncomfortable temperature activates the attention networks and becomes a single distractor to you and your students, on the forefront of your minds, so to speak. Memory plays a critical role in attention. Each of us uses memory to determine if we already know what the change in our environment is. If we remember this change from previous experiences, we know how to react, what worked before, and if we want a different outcome, to act differently. This is what accounts for the learning curve in any activity, from trying a new game to making corrections on a recent test. Interest is what helps maintain attention. Interest is generated not only when something is new or different, but is more easily sustained when that element is relevant to what is already going on. For example, if in the beginning of an American history class, once students are settled, you begin a Patrick Henry oration. This is probably a new way of engaging students in content material, but is also highly relevant. When the alerting and orienting networks are fully activated by engaging awareness, memory, and interest, The executive control network dictates the choices our students make. This is especially important when we are establishing classroom expectations of behavior and action with our students. Because we are not only trying to impart knowledge about course content, but also self-esteem, respect for others, and responsibility, just to name a few. Some other ways in which we can apply our understanding of attentional networks to classroom practices include orienting and alerting our students to our class by having a typical greeting or activity in the beginning of each period. This, in conjunction with the establishment of classroom expectations, reminds students what they will be and should be doing for your class. Something else to consider when designing lessons is to incorporate various activities that change every 10 to 20 minutes to maintain students' attention after initially capturing it. Remember, attention in the classroom is paid when something is positively associated, new, or unexpected.